All right, so the Duffle Bag essay. Why is this successful? What exactly about this essay makes it an appropriate, good, solid, successful essay for the main essay of an application? Well, it's definitely memorable. The use of imagery is very strong. I bet even a month from now you'd remember how the reader was or the writer was chipping at their nail polish and sticking their tongue out, thinking about their schedule. I bet you remember, or you can just envision her at school in those wool socks, laughing about it with her friend. I bet you can also think of all those kids with their little seatbelts on in the little car that she drives. So it's memorable. There's imagery in there that makes it memorable. The idea of the story, the theme is there, but it's those vivid images that make this colorful, memorable, compelling essay. Another aspect of the essay that I think is important to point out is that it's very easy to read. I'm not sure everybody, before they start reading essays, college essays, realize that it's not about using incredibly large vocabulary words and brainy intellectual sentences one after the other. The essay needs to be in the student's voice, and when it captures your voice, it genuinely is easier to read. So this essay, I find, is a very easy to read story. It moves quite quickly through the topics, through the paragraphs. I don't think it's predictable either. I think that you're kind of along for the ride with her. And I think that that's really important for the reader to feel like it's easy to read. From the very beginning, from the very first sentence, I feel like it's an interesting topic, and you're ready to keep reading and see where it goes. I think after reading the whole essay, the theme is very clear. I think it's very clear and pretty straightforward. The student is grateful for her family. She finds that she values her family. She finds that family is a big part of her life. She chose family as the topic of her main essay. Family is important to her. I think that's pretty clear. I don't see how I don't see how anybody could miss that. What I think also is important to point out is that, reading the essay standing alone isn't that clear, but this student had a significant hole in their application, a weak spot. This student did not have significant involvement in activities. In fact, very limited extracurricular activities in all of her high school experience. So, in choosing a topic, this was really important for this particular student to address in the main essay. The essay, I don't think, comes across as an excuse for not being more involved, but I think that it definitely explains to anyone looking over her entire application why this student wasn't more involved. Because she had a lot of younger siblings. She's the oldest of 5. She's responsible for picking them up and taking them to and from school and other activities in the afternoons into the evenings. She's got a mom living separately from dad. There's logistical issues in her schedule. So the reader understands. After reading the essay, the person reading the entire application completely understands why this student would not be involved in a lot of extracurricular activities, that she makes sacrifices for her family. She didn't have to say that in the essay. She didn't have to put a fine point on it saying, oh, I really would have rather been, more involved in my school's clubs, or this community service project, I would have done more hours if I just had more time, but it's my family's fault I didn't. That's not a good direction to take an essay. But the way it was addressed in her essay was that she finds joy in her family and love and obligation, and a little logistical obstacles or whatever, but she figures it out. But the reader gets it in the bigger context of things. I also think that it's might be really helpful for you to know that this essay did not start out that strong. This is the sixth, I think, version of the essay this student wrote. At the beginning, it sounded like, poor me. I have to, cart my little siblings around, and I give up a lot of time with friends and other activities that I wish I could be doing. And it was in there. It kind of started out a little bitter. And that's fine. The student got it out of her system. As her counselor, I had a nice talk with her about it, saying, I think this has a good theme. I think it's a good skeleton of an idea, but I think the treatment, the way it comes across, needs to be a little different. And I had her tell me what she loves about her family. And then it was easy. She started gushing about her dad's salmon, which you read about in the essay. And she started explaining how, she'll look back at the dinner table and look at the chaos and think it's great. And she talked about missing her family quite a bit in, the idea that she was going to be going off to college soon, and, how the dynamic of her family was going to be different with her in another city. So, I think that it's good to see a really nice essay like this, beautifully written, but I also think it's important for you to know that they don't start out that way. Another little tip, this particular student was applying to colleges not as an undecided major, but as potentially a journalism major, communications major. And so, the pressure's on when it's a writing sample, basically, that an essay like this is going to be for a college that you are very clearly stating, I'm interested in English and writing and journalism, communication, all those topics. So this student had a high bar set to have a beautiful essay, even though her grades weren't the best on the planet. And she had an A's in English, but not in some of her other classes. So she applied to the right department for her. And I think her essay is very successful. I think that it's very well written. I hope you learned from the breakdown of reading the essay and a little behind the scenes about how it came to be this way, not just reading it at in the final draft form.